Hey, thank you for taking the time and for allowing us to be able to be here. This is your state representative, El-Mahdi Holly, and I'm fortunate to be able to have with me some of my friends who I believe will be of help to you. As you know, this is Black History Month. And so therefore, we have to put a focus on how we are not only appreciating these sacrifices that have been made for our benefits, but also how do we move forward in a way that can progressively grow this community. But what you will also find is that because this is the season that a lot of families are applying, at least getting their students to apply for college, you'll realize that also some of the information that may be provided actually might benefit those who may not themselves be persons of color. And that's okay. This is something that will grow the conversation that we'll see not only in our local schools, but also I think that it'll help communities to see exactly the type of world that we're sending our children into, and then how we at the state must make sure that we can provide the funding and the directives that'll help make that college experience good for you and your family. So fortunately, I've been able to have on this call Shereem Herndon-Brown. Shereem is a CEO, Chief Executive Officer for college admissions. I believe it's a
Strategic Admissions Advice, which is a college consulting company.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, Strategic Admissions Advice. And we appreciate not only having him here, but also my friend for the last, I think maybe 28 years, Timothy Fields. Yeah. So Timothy Fields is the Senior Associate Dean at Emory University. And we're so glad for you all to be able to just take some time today to be able to really kind of break down a lot of these issues that I think a lot of parents are having. So I guess just to kind of start off, I really want to know, I guess from your perspective, I guess if maybe take this, Tim, what are families having to start to plan for college? Like, when's a good time to start planning to go to college?
Yeah, so I think a good time to start planning to go from college, really depends upon the type of schools your child aspires to go to. It can start as early as 7th grade, but you definitely need to begin to kind of plant the seeds and begin the process by the 9th grade. By the 9th grade, you're beginning to think about what classes you are going to take in high school. And then what you take in 9th grade affects what you can take in 10th grade, and so on and so forth. So, you really need to kind of get in the mindset around what classes you're taking, because that ultimately is going to determine the options that you are going to have throughout this process. There are some that have aspirations to go to Ivy League type of schools, and you need to start earlier. And there are some that are okay going to Georgia, Fort Valley, Savannah, and other state and local schools. And that's absolutely fine. But you want to begin to plan early because you want to have options. And me and Shereem have been doing this for over 25 years. And, you as families are going to find what success looks like for your family individually. But we think that success comes as far as you having options, and that begins in planning early. And we think anywhere between 7th and 9th grade is when you begin to plan. And that's as far as taking classes. You also want to begin having conversations about, financial aid. You all want to begin thinking about what schools you are going to look at. So all these things and these conversations need to start at the 9th grade and build on. And then when you get to 10th and 11th, there's testing, and then there are some other things. But I think the important part is to begin in the 9th grade, thinking about, what is a trajectory, what schools you want to go to, and then talking with your college counselors at your high school counselors about what classes you're going to take.
And let me just piggyback on that, Tim. I think the 3 key words here that we want families to have are expose, educate, and execute. So we want children to be exposed to what college is, what colleges are supposed to do, understand how that works. Again, it can begin as early as 7th grade, if not even elementary school, but you need to expose your kid, wear sweatshirts till they understand what college is. Then you want to educate them on what is needed, as Tim was explaining, the classes they need to take, the tests that needs to be done, the activity they need to be involved in. So they're exposed to it, they're curious, and you educate them on what it is and how they can then ultimately execute the process. So expose, educate, execute are 3 key words that we believe will help families be most successful in helping their kids get into college, finance, college education, so on and so forth.
Thank you. It's a lot for parents to think about, but I think they start early and really start getting that conversation going. And it's also even helping, at least helping their students to realize that it's time to actually get very clear and to start planning their life, because time is very limited, and things are going to speed up very quickly.
Very quickly.
Thank you. I'm wondering, when students or families are applying and they're thinking about these colleges, is there anything in particular that these colleges are actually looking for with respect to those applicants?
I'll start, and then Tim, you can finish up. Colleges, it's a reciprocal relationship. Colleges want students, and students want to go to college. And I think a lot of that depends on selectivity. What colleges are looking for are responsible young adults who are able to conduct themselves academically and socially that will help the college and themselves ultimately reach a higher space. So what they're expecting is students to have done well academically, and to different people measure that, what well is or success, differently. But a student should have proven on their 4-year or at least 3.5-year transcripts, meaning they're going to apply in the middle of their senior year, that they are academically able to handle an even more rigorous college curriculum. So what colleges are looking for are looking at transcripts. Historically, they've looked at standardized testing. In this post-pandemic, that is being reevaluated. But a 4-year transcript, 3.5-year transcript allows colleges to see what coursework has been done, what testing might have been a piece of it, and then how do you spend your time outside of the classroom? How are you engaged in your community? What we used to call community service is now called civic engagement. And are you involved with the athletics program? Are you involved with the arts? Are you involved with your church? How do you spend time outside of your school wall? So colleges want to see who you are and what you do as represented by pieces of paper that you submit. Tim, you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I think part of it is you got to, as you Shereem said, expose. You got to go to college and you see what college is looking for. Different colleges are looking for different things. Absolutely. So if you're looking at a 2-year campus, they're going to say, did you finish high school? And if you didn't finish high school, did you have a GED? And then they may ask for some additional information. If you apply into a UGA, a state school, they're going to ask for some standardized testing. Depending upon if you're applying to a scholarship, they may or may not ask for an essay. And then, as Shereem said, there's extracurricular activities. So those are going to be the core things that college and universities are going to look at. But the academic preparation, what courses you have taken, and you being prepared for whatever school that is. We're fortunate enough in Georgia to have a great university system, and then I'm part of the private universities. There's HBCUs, so there's a plethora of options here in Georgia. But of course, people may want to expand beyond that. But definitely, those are going to be the things that they're going to look at. They're going to look at what have you done academically? What do you do outside the classroom? What are people saying about you through letters of recommendations? Some of them may have essays that want to know your voice. And as Shereem mentioned, in this test optional world, they may or may not require that. But the Georgia state schools actually do require testing right now.
Good. I'd like to that you even highlighted. I know Shereem highlighted, and certainly you followed up with the fact that because there's a pandemic, we are, at least the admissions, you're taking more things into account because students are not navigating this process in the same traditional way that they had. And I guess is that affecting a lot of the applications that you're getting? Like, how are you able now to even better balance that, the outlook of being able to determine whether or not you have a candidate who's actually qualified? Are you able to look through that little period where their educational process was irregular, and be able to find that these students are qualified?
I think colleges are reading applications with compassion. They all understand that we've all gone through a trying 2 years now, and they understand that some kids started high school like this. Like this is now class of 2023. They started high school, March of their freshman year of high school. This kind of hit. So colleges are very much aware that the pandemic has had different impacts on different populations and on different students. So I think first and foremost, I want to lead with the word compassion. So they're able to sift through some of that. Yes, However, there are still certain standards that need to be set. And academically, from a GPA standpoint, you're still going to get a GPA. So you might as well have done the best of your ability. Standardized testing, like we said, is being reevaluated, but at the state level, many states, not just Georgia, are still considering that because of factors of how they allocate money. I think another piece of the puzzle that we can't neglect is the cost of college. And the pandemic has affected a lot of people's pockets. It's made people have to be innovative and inventive even in how they provide for their families. So now people are questioning, should my kid even go to college? What's the purpose? How am I going to pay for it? So there's different demographics are experiencing the college application process differently. Certain schools can say they have an abundance of applications because people are casting a wider net due to digital applications. And some people will say, you know what, I'm going to rein it in a little bit because I'm not sure this is a reality for my family. So it's not a one size fits all process. It never has been, but even more so now, I think families are being very critical and individualized, about what the process and projected future may be for their kid.
And the one thing I'll add is that there is a place on many applications where they say, were you affected by COVID? Where that student can talk about if there was any disruption, if they didn't have access to Wi-Fi, if maybe there were some things that happened in the family to provide some context. And students are given that opportunity so that, colleges and universities and individuals like myself who review applications can have all the information as they go out making these decisions since certain information is not there.
Good point. So that actually is a good lead up to a question I was wondering. What is it that you find in particular that families should be looking for, or at least, what is it that they're missing? Because I know that a lot of this, maybe to some of us who have been to college and other parents think, okay, well, I realize that a lot of this is kind of the mundane, this is what's to be expected, but we know that there's always challenges to this process through which you want to make sure that you are at least getting everything out the way, that you're dotting every I and crossing out every T. What is it that particularly you're finding that families are just, they're missing, with respect to these applications being turned in the way they should?
I think there has to be a greater sense of urgency. And I don't say that to heighten the anxiety around the process, but I want your constituencies to know that the process doesn't begin when your kid starts 12th grade. So we talked about that earlier. We want families to know that exposing them early, educating them, a little bit after that, and then executing the process, there are steps. It's called the college process for a reason. In my company, we try to help families to navigate the college admissions process under 4 key pillars of identifying the right schools to apply to and why. Cost, right? Number 1, cost. College is expensive. A private university can cost upward of $60,000, $70,000 a year, room and board tuition. Cost is a big deal. And I, as a first generation college student, am not advocating for students to take out more loans than necessary. Families take out Parent Plus loans. So cost has to be a determining factor if college is right for you, and then where they should go next. Location, how far is that from home? What are going to be the opportunities for the student while they're in college? What are the kind of professional networks that will be there post-college? Possible major, again, I am of the thinking, and sometimes Tim and I bump heads on this, but I think we're both well-intentioned of kids should go to college with a plan. If that plan changes, so be it. But I do think there has to be some kind of directive, some kind of awareness of who the kid is and what their agenda is as they enter an academic institution so that they can ideally graduate in the 4 years that they're intended to. Things happen, we understand that. But I think that cost, location, major, and finally career. What is the end game? What are you trying to do with this degree? No parent wants their kid on payroll forever. No parent wants their kid to waste their money and take out loans and not be able to pay them back. So if families can go into this saying, you know what, we're going to think about the cost, the location, the possible major, the possible career, I think that's the right mindset to go into this. And as Tim has mentioned, also coming from it earlier, sense of urgency, understanding that the time is now. And I think you'll have more college choices and ultimately college success by having those choices.
And the only thing that I'll add, and this is something that, Shereem knows I feel strongly about, get information from professionals. Yes. I know somebody who went to college and somebody who made their child went to a certain school, and they'll tell you all about how they got in, but there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. So, if you have questions about a process, ask the individuals at the school. If you have financial aid questions, ask an individual in that financial aid office. You also have high school counselors who can help you. have them who are the professionals who do this day to day, who have the access to all the information, guide you through this process, and not to be dependent upon what I call the street committee, the wine and cheese circuit, where you heard this, you heard that. Definitely get information from reliable sources about this process.
I'm glad the best part about this is that, we literally have experts on here. So that's why it's always good. I said, you know what, I can always recount from my own experience and say, hey, well, this is what I did. And that's great. Nothing wrong with that. But we were in school a long time ago. Okay.
Speak for yourself.
Okay.
So Representative El-Mahdi, one of the things we talk about is these students will never go to the financial aid office. All that happens online. They're not gonna, have to, wait in a line to register for courses, to, do add, drop, swap, and things of that nature. It's completely different. But as us, as let's say, mature individuals think that it's still the same for our child, we're setting them up for failure. It's changed so much, and we have to definitely understand what's happened in the last 30 years as the higher education landscape has changed.
It has changed. Thank you for the reminder. And I guess not only just speaking to this in terms of providing folks with the opportunity to hear from you directly, but fortunately, you all have been able to come together and combine your insight into this new book, The Black Family's Guide to College Admissions, a conversation about education, parenting, and race. What is it that particularly, I know, Tim, you've definitely written some books before, and certainly Shereem, you're well aware of how to operate and navigate in this space. What is it particularly that you find important that families of color need to understand about this process? What is it that particularly that is maybe in contrast to what has been largely looming as colleges seek to get new applicants from all across America? What is it particularly that Black families need to hear from you about this?
So Tim and I came together for several reasons. One, we're educators, we're parents, and we have this college admissions background, professional experience that we needed to share because the process is different. The consideration that Black families must have as they approach this process must be different. We want Black families to understand their choices. And we even have a Facebook group. Shameless plug, please join our free Facebook group, Understanding the Choices, on Facebook. It's a group that we are sharing resources, sharing information, but we want the conversation to be a lively one about how you're educating your child throughout elementary, middle, and high school in preparation to go to college or not. But we want them to understand the choices. We believe that Black families are in a unique position because we have HBCUs, Morehouse, we have PWIs, Wesleyan. Tim and I have this dynamic that my being on one side of the desk, having been a college counselor and an educational consultant, him being on the other side of the desk, reading applications, evaluating candidates, we bring an expertise and a lens to this that not many people can do. So we're proud of our duality, but more importantly, we want to share that with our Black people. We want that this book and Understand the Choices and opportunities like this speak to your population, to know that there are people who want to help, there are resources that can help, but they have to seek it. As Tim said, ask experts, buy the book, shameless plug, join the group. But we want Black families to understand that there are so many opportunities for their children. They just got to gather the information sooner rather than later. Tim?
The only thing that I'll add is, we really want people to know, as Shereem said, about choices, but, when to begin the process, what to look at in the process. And then what are the X factors? What are the things that maybe you aren't thinking about? What if your child is an athlete? What are the considering that? There's a gender imbalance in higher education. So, it may be a little bit more difficult depending upon the school that a young lady is applying to than a male. And then, of course, money. We've talked about that a lot, but financing is a big part. And so we want to have conversations about this. We want to supply information for families so they know what questions to ask. So as they go through this process, they can have the choices and they can have the success they're looking for as they, think about what's best for their family.
Excellently said. I like the fact that, we highlighted that, granted, this type of knowledge of how to pursue this and what to look for is something that is applicable without regard to whether you are going to a historically Black college or you're going to a college that predominantly has a population that is not Black. And so and that's the good thing. Our Morehouse experiences are strong. But look, you went to UMass Amherst, and I know Shereem, Wesleyan and Middlebury. So it's good for people to realize that this is not specifically about identifying a narrow route and focusing on, okay, well, you know what, this is only what these schools offer. No. Once you realize this, it opens your world up to how you can properly apply, not only just to get admissions, but to apply yourself towards the plan of actually graduating, as well as not even being able to carry on exorbitant loads of debt in order to finance that education, right? And that's something that is worth the buck in any college you go into.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you for taking this time, and I think certainly how should people get in touch with you should they choose to have any other questions?
I think the best way is to join the Facebook group, Understanding the Choices on Facebook. It's a group that's growing. It's conversations where we exchange. There are several professionals, not only ourselves, from high school and higher education, doing great work, adding advice. So I'm in this place right now.
Thank you. Well, all right. Well, everybody, you've heard it. And just like to not only encourage you all to continue to give more information, but feel free to please reach out. Please join that Facebook group. And I just really like to just thank our guests, Timothy Fields, Senior Associate Dean at Emory University, and our brother, Shereem Herndon-Brown, Chief Executive Officer for Strategic Admissions Advice.com. So we just thank you for just giving us this opportunity. We're going to make sure that we apply it. Thank you, brothers.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for the opportunity.